Hi, thank you for taking an interest in Autobumper's international business strategy, as presented by Trish, Richard Chien, and Jessica Panchal. Our agenda is the development and expansion of Autobumper in the global market through manufacturing a new product and create a new market in the auto manufacturing industry. The company has purchased a plastics manufacturer in Brazil. This plastic manufacturer has existing machinery that can produce carbon fibers. The usual clients were Volkswagen and Fiat, which are two of the largest car manufacturers around the globe. Autobumper currently has a good relationship with General Motors and Ford. The product standard and the existing connections of this to Brazil can be an advantage to our company. Autobumper can build a market to supply the needs of those large car manufacturers. These markets can be the target consumer for those carbon fiber auto parts produced by Autobumper. The agenda will be satisfied with a series of steps and processes. First, Autobumper needs to pursue innovation and product redevelopment. The problem's most feasible solution is to export newly improved and designed machinery from the United States. These are the plastic injection molding machinery crafted by the best engineers here in the United States. All of these machinery meets UL and ISO 9001 standards. However, Autobumper needs to know all the considerations in exporting the machinery in Brazil. The 7 things Autobumper need to consider when exporting are restrictions, tariffs and taxations, logistics, staffing, Brazil standards, adaptation, and foreign exchange. There are potential exporting restrictions Autobumper might run into with the components being shipped from the US. The United States can place restrictions on what can be exported for a variety of reasons. If the end country is believed to have ties to terrorist groups, or the technology have applications in weapons use are just a few. Autobumper will need to get import authorization from Syscomex prior to shipping. This process can take up to several months to complete. Planning ahead will help minimize delays. In May 2011, requirements on cars and car parts was imposed by Brazil into the non-automatic import licensing classification. Goods that are allowed automatic import licensing may be imported into Brazil and then registered the operations into the Syscomex through an import declaration after the goods arrive. The goods can then be electronically registered for processing through customs. All items that are not available in Brazil will receive tax and tariff exemptions. These import tax exemptions were launched since 2013. The government listed all the exempted items which commonly classified as machinery and equipment. The importers need to undergo their process called Sistema ex Tarifario to exercise these privileges. This system only requires the declaration of legal documents of the items to be imported in Brazil. Autobumper will export U.S. machinery in Brazil. Machineries that are not available in Brazil will be tax-free. Therefore, the company will be free from any taxes or tariffs. Their importation just need to undergo Sistema ex Tarifario. Is this process too long or too complicated that also produce the same expenses? No, this process will just require providing all the supporting legal documents. As soon as we pass the process, Autobumper can start importing the U.S. machinery in Brazil to start the operations. When it comes to logistics, there are many things for Autobumper to consider, especially if the country is struggling to meet the demands of international shipments from its lack of infrastructure. The country was also woefully behind on modernization of its transportation, which started in the early 1970s and had not yet extended to many parts of the country. Even with all these problems, Brazil continued to invest little in the way of transportation, which accumulated into the unfinished subway station that didn't even reach the Olympics in Rio today. The main obstacles when it comes to shipping comes in 4 forms through its road transportation, railways, waterways, and air transportation. Road transportation in Brazil corresponds to 58% of the national logistics system. According to the National Confederation of Transportation, 69% of Brazilian roads are in bad condition, preventing economic development in certain regions such as the north and northeast. Railways corresponds to 25% of Brazilian logistics system, but contains only a few routes, operates at low speeds, and contains relatively high costs. Waterways corresponds to 13% of the country's logistics. The main problem arises from poor development of usable ports for shipping. Air transportation currently only corresponds to 0.65% of logistics for Brazil, with the airports suffering from overcrowding, cancellation, and delays. Goods have to pass through a multitude of checkpoints where one of many Brazilian authorities can deny shipment. Lack of dependent energy resources increases difficulty of shipping and increasing overall costs. Through significant due diligence when in consideration of entering the Brazilian market, Autobumper made a strategic decision to purchase the plastics manufacturer located in a well-developed area capable of supporting multiple shipping options. The location is in close proximity to the coastline and also nearby the interstate freeway with easy access to the United States. This ease of access allows Autobumper a way to rely on U.S. infrastructure in case Brazil's shipping options in the future become severely limited. Autobumper also pushes to secure a local presence and develop a productive relationship with the local government, which will help the company through many political hurdles. When it comes to staffing, some considerations are options for selecting the best staff for management, options for selecting the best technical personnel, and ways to incorporate corporate HR policies into a subsidiary. When staffing Autobumper's Brazilian locations, taking a polycentric staffing approach and looking for managers, a local individual will understand the culture better than a foreigner would and will have the best language skills for communicating with the employees, which will also be local. Staffing of technical personnel with a genocentric staffing approach will get a larger pool of candidates and lead to being able to select the person with the best skills for the job. For the liaison between the U.S. office and the Brazil office, the best candidate should be decided by skill and experience. A geocentric staffing approach. Having someone that understands the rules and expectations of both countries would be important to stay within the rules and guidelines of doing business in each country, as well as being able to promote the corporate culture. In certifications and quality management systems, UL or ISO 9001 certifications were accepted in Brazil. ISO 9001 is an international standard that can be accepted in many countries around the world. This certification can be applied in every kind of organization and business sector. Since the machinery that Autobumper will import to Brazil meets UL and ISO 9001 standards, its certification is acceptable in Brazil. The company does not need any other certifications that require more expenses. All the machinery was always ready to import in Brazil. Brazil has a large and diversified economy requiring Autobumper to have an intimate knowledge of the local economy in order to create a strong market presence. One thing to consider is that while the country is ranked as the world's 7th largest economy with a GDP of 2.3 trillion in 2014, the country is also plagued with poverty. The country also has a problem with containing its crime, as some of the Olympians has already experienced. To bypass the problems, Autobumper works to spend its marketing primarily on popular Brazilian newspapers, which combine to command over 46% of market share. Autobumper also intends to market to Brazilians through the use of social media platforms Facebook and Twitter. Currently, Facebook and Twitter's second largest market is located here in Brazil, with over 46 million and 40 million active users respectively. These platforms combine to allow Autobumper to reach a large customer base, and with a large expenditure of the government, Autobumper's close relationship will benefit and increase sales to its entities. Some considerations for a foreign exchange are ways to mitigate risk against foreign exchange losses and forecast to reduce losses with exchange rate fluctuation. One way to mitigate risk against foreign exchange rate losses is to engage in foreign exchange rate transactions. Then Autobumper can lock in an exchange rate that is guaranteed. Forecasting the future exchange rate can help Autobumper know when to set up a foreign exchange rate and when to do a spot exchange for the best deal. If a person has a forward exchange rate transaction back on July 29th at 2 o'clock, they will have locked in at a price before it had increased. This increase may be influenced by the Olympics that are currently taking place in Brazil and may return to a lower amount after the Olympics tourists have departed. With all things considered, Autobumper can start a manufacturing base in Brazil due to all the favorable standards and considerations. Thank you.